What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and today I want to share with you a story that I'm just running across, and maybe you've heard about this, involving a guy by the name of TJ Tremble, who at the age of 14 years old killed somebody. Actually, he didn't kill just one person, he killed two people, a mother and a father of four, who were asleep in their bed. Yeah, there's nothing okay about this crime right here. And then not only did he kill them, he stole some change, the story reports, and then stole their vehicle as well. Kids sleeping in the house, nothing okay about this situation. The reason why this story is in the news is because TJ Tremble, who's 39 years old right now, and again, this double murder, took place when he was 14 years old back in 1997. Just recently had a court date where he could have potentially been eligible for parole. In fact, there were two different scenarios that could have played out when he went to court. One of which said that he could be eligible for parole after 25 years and up to 40 years. I guess that was his sentence, like 25 to 40 years. And then the harsher side of things, 40 to 60 years. So after 40 years, he could then be eligible for parole. When I first ran across this story, I read this headline totally wrong that reads, "Juvenile lifer TJ Tremble, who killed at 14, will get parole chance after serving 40 years." So when I read that, I was thinking that this guy had already served 40 years. And then when I read what he did, killing a mother and a father, two people, took the lives of two people while they were asleep in their home with four children in the house as well, just to steal some change and a car. I thought to myself, fuck this guy. We're getting ready to do what? I just did a story a week or two ago here on After Prison Show talking about the Virginia Parole Board and how the entire parole board got fired after a gubernatorial and attorney general change of the guard took place. And here we are with another story taking place in Michigan that sounded like we're about to give a dude that I personally don't feel like deserves parole a chance to be out here in the world. Now, don't shoot the messenger. Hey, look, this is just my opinion on this situation, and that's why I share this story with you, so that you can pose yours down in the comments section. This story does pose a couple of interesting factors. TJ Tremble was 14 years old when this took place. He was a juvenile who was sentenced to life. Laws have changed. U.S. Supreme Courts have gotten involved and said years ago, a couple of years ago at least, that you can no longer sentence a minor to life no matter what the situation is. And man, isn't this a crazy situation that pops up in relation to that change of law? You know, you can sometimes hear about a murder that takes place where maybe it's somewhat understandable. Maybe it doesn't seem as harsh as it really is. And that's horrible to say. Anytime that somebody loses their life in a murder, homicide, whether it's a drug dealer who was killed or it was a robbery of a drug dealer, that went wrong or something along those lines. Maybe something involving a gang shootout. I truly feel like there's certain cases when a murder can be looked at as not so bad as in other cases. And unfortunately for this guy, his case just ain't one of those. And in fact, his case is definitely the latter. I think it's the latter. Pretty damn sinister and severe. So I guess as we're getting into this, one thing that I want to ask you guys is, do you feel like, even with a case like this, two parents asleep in their bed, four children in the home, shot and killed right then and there? I don't know if this was point blank range. Would that add to the severeness, the sinisterness, the caliber, so to speak, of the heinousness of this particular crime? Probably so, and it probably was, just to be honest. Whether it was point blank, he was probably standing right over the bed when he did this. There was no accident about this. This young man, even at a juvenile, shot and killed two people to steal some change in a vehicle. Now, I know what the argument's going to be. As a youth, the brain's not fully developed yet. Maybe he didn't understand right and wrong. I'm saying though, at 14 years old, if you don't understand what you're doing and you go and shoot and kill two people, use a rotten apple, in my opinion. And I don't truly feel like there's no hope or rehabilitation for you. But Joe, he could have came from a messed up childhood and upbringing. True that. That still don't change the fact that we got us a rotten apple here, in my opinion. Again, feel free to disagree if you choose to do so. I think this story also gets a little bit of notoriety, and it's, again, just my opinion, Because maybe this guy looks the part. If we take a look at this mugshot right here, I mean, gosh, he looks rehabilitated, don't he? He don't look like he's going to go out there and do anything of the sort again. But don't let the looks deceive you. This isn't one of those mugshots that's going to lead to a modeling career like has happened in the past, actually. I honestly feel like it kind of plays a part into the notoriety of this story, the story getting the attention that it is. I like to play the devil's advocate. I say that a little more frequently nowadays, but I truly do. And I like to pose a different view on things. Sometimes that's not always great or understood or, liked. But I'm not trying to sit here and say things that I think are politically correct. I'm saying things that I think. And again, you don't have to agree with that. I mean, I'm just sharing my reaction, my response to all of this. So the story would say, a man who was 14 years old when he killed a sleeping couple and stole their car in Aroostook County in 1997 will get a chance to leave prison. That's why this story was so big, because he was going to court. A judge gave TJ Tremble a new sentence last week, the result of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision that struck down automatic life sentences for teens who commit murder. Tremble, 39 years old, will be eligible for parole after serving at least 40 years in prison. So again, this added to the confusion of me reading the headline, because I'm thinking, hey, look, this dude's about to get out. I saw 39 and I saw 40. He's 39 years old. He's going to be eligible for parole after he serves 40 years. But folks, he's only been down now for, well, I don't know. The crime took place in 1997, and the story would go on to say, or another story would go on to say, he'll be eligible for parole in 15 more years. Do you think this guy should get another chance out here in the free world? Could he be a productive member of society? He's 39 years old right now. In 15 years, he's going to be 54. Still a lot of life left to lead. But can you imagine starting your life at 54 years old? I find this next part interesting also. Judge David Riffle said a psychologist found that Tremble had been rehabilitated and was capable of further improvement. I just gotta play the devil's advocate here and say, how do you honestly know? Have you been showing him those little ink blot pictures and saying, what do you see here? I hate to make light of this situation, and I don't do so for the jokes. I do so with all seriousness. And this goes far outside of a psychologist, but I think about this also in relation to real estate and an appraiser. Because here is somebody like a psychologist, even though we're talking two totally different things. Here is somebody, or here are two different people, two different walks of life, two different wheelhouses, who are considered to be professionals, right? They've went to school for this. They've got degrees in this. They've got experience doing this. They've seen it all. But at the end of the day, no matter what, it's still the opinion, the professional opinion. We can even go as far as to say, of that person, psychologist, appraiser, to say one way or another what they feel to be the truth. Is your truth my truth? I don't want to get all Matrix-like with you now, but think about this. Let's take this to another dimension or something. We're going to go based upon the professional opinion of a psychologist or the professional opinion of a home appraiser. If you think about trying to sell a house and what that house is worth. It's going to be the home appraiser who comes in there and says, well, you've done this, you've done that, the schools are here, the location's this. It's my personal belief and opinion that this house is worth X amount of dollars. Also looking at a couple of comparable houses that have sold in the area. But no matter what it is, there's always going to be some sort or some form or fashion of biasness in those opinions. Do you think that the psychologist who deemed this guy rehabilitated TJ Tremble capable of further improvement, do you think his opinion would be the same as another psychologist's opinion? And I'm not saying one guy's right versus the next guy, but I really don't like shit that comes down to one person's opinion. Maybe he should have gone in front of a board, like a parole board of psychologists. Think about the Supreme Court when you've got multiple judges on a panel who have to vote. And guess what happens when they vote on things to change? Or is something going to get reevaluated or relooked at? There's usually always a majority vote because not everybody's going to vote the same. I really hate things that involve just one particular party. When I mention biasness, maybe the psychologist is biased toward reform. And good for that, for TJ Tremble, for having a psychologist who said, hey, look, this dude is capable of rehabilitation, and I do feel is rehabilitated. Because had he had somebody who was like, yo, dude did what? At 14-2? This dude is a monster. Could have been the opinion, professional at that, of another psychologist. It's almost like just a roll of the dice. I throw the appraiser into this as well, dealing with flip 3. We actually have a biased appraiser. It's just the way the dice rolled for us. Joe with the worst luck. And allegedly, this guy's been quoted as saying, I can't stand flipped houses. And has, in the past, given a low appraisal based on that, plus more, I'm sure, but also probably at least a little sprinkle of biasedness involved in that as well. I've straight blown your minds. I've definitely blown mine. I got a little bit of a headache trying to explain all this shit. But is it at least debatable, plausible that could be the case? You can disagree with me as much as you want. Your opinion, I respect that. So even with the judge stating that a psychologist found this guy had been rehabilitated and was capable of further improvement, the judge declined to re-sentence TJ Tremble to the 25-year minimum eligibility to be up for parole, and decided to go instead with the higher side of things. Dude will not be eligible for parole till after he's at least served 40 years, right? And he said the reason why he did this, these types of cases have immense collateral damage, Riffle said Friday. Think about Virginia's parole board. They all got shit canned and fired. We're letting people out who may or may not really deserve a second chance. There's certainly some bias and favoritism that was taking place with all of that. But we're not even notifying the victim's family or prosecutors. Hey, look, we're just going to let these dudes out. And hopefully they ain't got no vendetta. This judge in Michigan, where I truly believe Michigan is a hard state. Think about Michael Blakeman, the guy that I did the prison consulting work with a few years ago. He had the DUI manslaughter. His wife died in the vehicle. It was just an accident. He was high when he crashed the car and she got killed. Top paid lawyer. Never been in trouble before in his life. Was going to drug counseling and all sorts of shit. Trying to prepare for court. And there was the possibility he could only end up with like 3 years, 5 years, something like that. Judge smoked him 7-14. So I truly feel like Michigan don't play to start. But good on this judge, I feel, for saying these types of cases have immense collateral damage, Riffle said Friday. There are so many people that are impacted by the defendant's behavior. Yeah, them 4 kids that were in the house when their parents got killed for some change in a car, they're still dealing with this shit today. And now the story's all in the news. And, straight up, my opinion is this: dude should never come home. And guess what? He probably will not. Let's just call it what it is. He's in Michigan. They don't play there. I don't even understand why this story got as much notoriety as it did. Are we really giving this story as much credit because of this guy's GQ-ish type of looks in this mugshot? No suspect about it. I'm just calling it what it could potentially be. I try to see this joint in 3 dimensions, like an oracle or something. That's probably not as plausible as the fact that it definitely plays heavily into the law that was changed a few years ago by the U.S. Supreme Court that says, as a juvenile, you cannot be convicted to life at a juvenile age, no matter what the crime is. And this crime, top of the list in terms of heinousness, in my opinion. I'm getting close to the end of this. I want to wrap it up with this final thing. I don't think dude will ever make parole, right? Because what this story, I don't want to say dances around because they mention it. I think it's overlooked very easily. They said dude will be eligible for a chance at parole after serving 40 years. That's not a guarantee. That's not a promise. That's not a potentially you gonna get it. That means he probably gonna go up for parole. My thought. And get denied. At least the first time. Does he make it the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth? Maybe. But you know what the parole board could take into account? Dude, you're 54 years old at this point. What you honestly gonna do out there? I'm just saying. People can restart their life at any age. Could be an argument to that statement. Folks, that's all I got on this story. Sorry for being so abrasive with it, but I try to call it for what it is. And that's the way that I view this thing. If you view it any different, or even if you do agree, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about this. I'll be eager to see what you have to say, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about it. And as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!